Again, I appreciate our sponsors taking a chance on this first event. We didn't know we would have such a great turnout, so this is awesome. And you know, when you take a chance on these things, you just never know. So it's a really big appreciation to all of our sponsors for supporting this very first year event. Of course, we hope you like it enough that you want us to do it again next year, but we think these conversations are important to continue. So I told you I was going to steal a little bit of thunder because the beets in the salad that I had are from some farmers that you're going to hear about here soon, the carrots as well, and probably a few other things. But I want to quickly introduce our lunchtime keynote speakers. Jan Holen, here to my left, is an eternal student of ecology, business, and organizational development. He believes in employee ownership, extreme transparency, and the power of business to generate positive change. Besides being on the Tahoe Food Hub board, Jan is the founder of Truckee River Ventures, an incubator of organizations with the shared mission of revitalizing the Truckee watershed. Along with other community members, he's working to create the first co-housing community in Truckee. And then we also have with us Shay Prince, who is the chef at Sierra Cafe, the little restaurant over here to the left of the lobby, and the chef for this lovely and beautiful menu that you all have here in front of you today. So I'm going to turn it over to Jan. He's going to do his presentation and tell you all about the Tahoe Food Hub, and then we'll have time for questions and then Shay can talk about how awesome it is to use the Tahoe Food Hub in the restaurant, and then we'll have time for questions before we break for our next session. Thanks, everybody.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Heidi. It's quite bright up here, so I got one of these microphones so I can get away from the lights and connect with all of you there. But yeah, you did steal our thunder a little bit, but I will have Shay talk a little bit about the end, a little bit more detail about the food that you're eating. And I haven't had some myself, but I plated some, and it looks amazing. So kudos to the chefs for sure. So I'm here to represent the Tahoe Food Hub, and you might recognize Susie Sutphin here. She's our executive director, co-founder, and I'm a board member, and she happens to be on a very well-deserved vacation to visit her family in Ohio. So it's if it looks like I'm not super fluent with this particular topic, it is because it is the first time I'm speaking in public with certainly a large group like this on food, but I'm passionate about what we do at the Tahoe Food Hub, and Susie is an amazing person to work with, and she started this organization 5 years ago, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about it. But you know, she's obviously a driving force of the whole thing, so ultimately, at this point, the Tahoe Food Hub wouldn't really exist without Susie, and as a board member and as a business builder and a community builder, it's my goal to make it so that when she goes on her next trip, she can go for not a week, but 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and the Food Hub won't implode, and that's really where we're at this point. But obviously the Food Hub is a lot bigger than just Susie, and there's a lot of volunteer effort that goes into it. Just as a way of, by way of introduction, thank you, Heidi, for the introduction. I just want to give a little bit of background on what I do so it will really influence how I see the Food Hub and how it fits into the bigger picture. I love that Gino had mentioned the Truckee River and how that's really, in a lot of ways, the heart and soul of this region. And you know, if you think of the Truckee River, it actually starts on the South Lake and then empties out on the other side of the lake. So in a way, the Truckee River binds us all together, all the way from Reno, Myers, the whole basin. And you know, I went to UC Davis as I study as a wildlife biologist, and before long I realized that as much as I love wildlife and being out there in nature, what I really loved the most was connecting with people, and that's what drew me to business. And ultimately, business is an amazing conduit. Economic development is an amazing conduit to get things done. And I'll save the S word for another time, but it's really an amazing way to get things done. And that's why I'm really passionate about business. I believe that business is something that, you know, that a business with heart in it, with love, is actually more powerful than a business without. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And, you know, it's amazing, and I was really impressed with Gino's presentation on that. So ultimately, the Truckee River is what I'm in love with, and what you know, my wife and I got married right, literally footsteps from the Truckee River. I think in the next career, and I won't bore you with my last career, but in the next career, I want to spend the next, say, 25 to 50 years of my life seeing that this watershed is not only taken care of from an environmental standpoint, but that we're actually reclaim it as our own, and that we can live near it, we can visit it, and we can do that for generations. So that's ultimately what my goal is with Truckee River Ventures. And it really does tie with the food hub, and I'll mention it in a minute. Yeah, I mentioned earlier I had a question for Gino about Truckee co-housing, and this was actually a photo from last night at our potluck, and I love the idea of creating community spaces, and really ultimately Truckee co-housing is all about creating a vessel or a container for community spaces, and we actually have a Getting It Built workshop going on next weekend, the 4th and 5th, and we just decided that we're going to do two to three scholarships. It costs about $400 to go to the workshop. We're going to do 2 or 3 scholarships. It's next weekend, so if people are available, and I would guess that if you paid to be here, you're probably not in this demographic, but we would like to see the demographic of the underrepresented workforce incorporated into the Truckee co-housing, because the reality is that in order to get involved at this stage, you need to have money, and we'd like to change that. So that's one thing there. And you know, I just wanted to, I'd be remiss, I've been getting involved with Truckee Trails. I was just, I guess, given the opportunity to serve as treasurer, and wanted to mention that one of my goals in terms of creating interconnectivity and economic development within the Tahoe region is to ensure that we have connectivity of trails, and we can use something other than our gas-powered wheelchairs to get around. And so, you know, putting activity or doing things in line with that, I actually rode my bike here from Glenshire, and it only took me about a half an hour longer than if I had driven. So, and I didn't have to go out for my morning run this morning. So, anyway, speaking of food sheds, or actually watersheds, there's a concept in the food hub community of this concept of a food shed. And a food shed, you know, this is a caricature, and you know, we'd be remiss in not recognizing South Lake Tahoe, which we're now beginning to serve. But you know, there's obviously a lot of great food producers, organic food producers, small-scale food producers that are all over this region within 150 miles. So the Tahoe Food Hub, really the goal is to connect farmers within 150 miles that are growing food with heart and putting their you know, life energy into this food, that we're connecting it more directly to our community here. And I'm so pleased to have the Hyatt involved here, because Hyatt is one of our best customers from, you know, many years now, has been a supporter of the Tahoe Food Hub. So anyway, this is this concept that we not only have a watershed, but we also have a food shed, and taking care of that is a big part of what we're about. The heart of the Tahoe Food Hub is our Farm to Market program, and I love this image because this is a poster, a full-size poster that has been part of a series of sustainable agriculture posters. But ultimately, we're really about creating access, supporting family farms, sustainable family farms, increasing food security so that if in the future we have a situation where it may not make sense to transport food so far, that we have a system, and that we actually have farmers that are taking care of our food system. And we also have a strong educational component. My alma mater, UC Davis, I went onto their website when I went preparing for this speech and realized that really the goal of sustainable agriculture is very similar to what we're talking about here in business when we start talking about triple bottom line businesses. It's really about ensuring environmental health, social and economic equity, and of course it needs to be economically profitable. And I'm not really sure who I can credit this to. It may be Jim Collins, but I love the quote that profit is like air. We absolutely need it to live, right? Profit is like air, but we don't live for air, right? We just take it for granted. So in business and in organizations, or in a nonprofit, you know, profit or having a bottom line at the end of the year, being in the black, so to speak, using the financial terminology, is like our air. But we're not all about that. And certainly one of the great things about working in social enterprises and nonprofits is this fact that we know that we're about more than just making a profit. So, you know, I put it up here, the planet, the typical 3P, planet, profit, people. Heidi used a different terminology this morning that was very similar. We've gone a long ways from this quote from Abraham Lincoln: the greatest fine art of the future will be the making of a comfortable living from a small plot of land. Okay? We all know that since about the Depression, you know, to 2030 or so, 1925, 1930, that the size of farms has been steadily increasing and the number of farms has been steadily decreasing. So you've got the perfect inverse correlation there. You know, obviously this has come at a cost, and this is not news to people that have studied agriculture or just even paid attention, but it comes at the cost of topsoil depletion, groundwater contamination, degradation of rural communities, poor conditions for farmers, and it's very capital intensive. So the bar to getting into farming is incredibly high these days. And that is one of the places where the Food Hub is, I'm very proud of the Food Hub, is supporting small farmers in many ways, but creating a market for those small farmers is a huge part of what we do at the Food Hub. And the CO2 concentrations, or the CO2 emissions that we have, you know, they're maybe not completely correlated or completely caused by our mechanization of our food system, but certainly the mechanization of the food system is a big part of it. And you know, if you look at the global food system, and I read a few reports, one from, I'm not even going to try to say that there, I can't even say the acronym, but a third of all human-caused greenhouse gases emissions are from our global food system. And if you look at it from fertilizer manufacture to food storage and packaging, it's pretty astounding. So if we can somehow minimize our packaging, minimize our transportation, minimize the use of fertilizers from fossil fuels, that's an amazing opportunity, and that's what the Food Hub is all about. Again, not perfectly correlated, but it's interesting to see that certainly since the early 1980s, late 1970s, the obesity rates in this country have just gone off the charts. And I believe that it is a lot about disconnecting ourselves from our food system. In a lot of ways, it's about using cheaper carbohydrates that are more easily storable. You know, the Midwest, for the most part, is certainly until recently, has produced much else other than soy, corn, wheat, all these things that go into our packaged cereal and, you know, these various packaged foods. And I think that it's really essential for food hubs to support these family farms that allow the food to transport to market much more efficiently for all the reasons that we had mentioned. I love this image here, and it's just, you know, my hope is that the Truckee Food Hub the Tahoe Food Hub in the future, with your support, is going to have at least as big trucks as the colored sugar water that is distributed in our area. And there are a lot of these trucks. We only have 2 or 3 of the Tahoe Food Hub trucks. So, you know, and then the U.S. foods over there, as much as we all need them here, I'm hoping that we can deliver more of the organic, sustainable, local food, and not have necessarily food that's being transported from all over the country and increasingly all over the world, Chile, you know, so on and so forth. Yeah, I throw this slide in here to just say that it's not all glamorous running a food hub, especially in the wintertime. You know, Susie, I don't know how many meetings I've been in with Susie, and we're trying to work out the budget, and we're trying to figure out, well, how are we going to crack this big, you know, BHAG, you know, this hairy move to Truckee that we're trying to finance right now, and trying to figure out how we're going to come up with $500,000 when we're really figuring out, well, how do we pay for that tow truck, or how do we pay for you know, the new truck that we need. So, you know, that's getting into the weeds or getting into the snowbanks, however you want to look at it. Just really briefly, the farm to market, I don't even know if you guys can see this from back there, and I should know better than to put actually even a word on a PowerPoint slide, but it'll help me anyway. The farm to market, we have 45 producers, is that 45, I think? Yeah, 45, 30 value, so 45 farmers and ranches, 30 value-added producers, so artisan producers that are local or they might be in the foothills. We have some producers in the Reno area. And then we consolidate all that in mini food hubs. And the farm to market program then, you know, we consolidated into a tiny farm shop right now. We're in the process with, hopefully with your support, with some donations and some financial support, we are going to be moving the farm shop to a more central location right off of Highway 80 and 267, and have a larger warehouse. But there you can pick up food from the farm shop, and then we also do food donations, work with Project Mana, several other food distributors to create better access to this type of food. Because the reality is that these food hubs are the distributors of food to underprivileged or economically challenged individuals. You're most often getting things that keep, right? Or maybe haven't kept so well and it's on the edge of spoiling. Well, our goal is actually to bring that food straight from the farm, straight to those people when it's most nutritionally dense, and it's obviously better. And, you know, no wonder you might not be into vegetables that might have been sitting around for weeks on end. And we have a great program that we call Gleaning. And, you know, this isn't something we invented, but, you know, a lot of the food that was wasted in the country just spoils in the fields. And there's a great volunteer program. You're welcome to get on our website and sign up or send us your interest. But when the food's going bad in the fields and it doesn't make sense, not profitable for the farmer to pick it and take it to market, we'll go down, pick it, and all of that food, maybe not all of it, but just about all of it, except for what people can take home and use, ends up going to Project Mana and other sources. So it's a great way to go. 60 restaurants, 4 grocers, 10 build your own box groups, and 1 school district, a large school district, sprawling, and also a hospital that we service. And our goal is really, in the next 5 years, is to make it so that everyone's fridge has better access to this. So we're adapting our build your own box program, which I believe I've got some slides in here later. But I wanted to throw just some faces of farmers, and I don't know if I can connect exactly where our beets came from. That was one of my goals, but it didn't come together. But you know, Alan here from River Hill Farm is a big supporter of the Food Hub, and we support him. You know, I just have a handful of images here of some of our farmers. I think the important thing to recognize with this is that these are not like corporate farmers. Every one of these farmers, we've done these farm tours, and you go there, and you know, these people are actually planting the crops. And you know, if they have a tractor, they're often driving that tractor. You know, these are people that are running small businesses in the way that you and I might think of starting a business, right? It's not how this SBA defines a small business. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 people, maybe 10, something like that. Anyway, more farmers. And again, I want to mention that we are really keen on connecting local producers, and this is really where I think we can get some traction in our local environment, because it is more difficult to get the food, it's more difficult to produce food here, but not so difficult to make bread, for example. So that's one of the things that we have going here. We have a time check. How are we doing? I'm on the home stretch here. Okay. Yeah. And we can't forget our chefs. And this is just what you could get at the small food shop. We want to expand that as we move into Truckee, and I think our goal is to see something like this in Southlake, and build your own box program. This is Kristen at Sierra Business Council. They've been big supporters of us. I know the Hyatt does this program, and we have a strong educational component. We bring chefs down to visit the farms. We have the Tahoe, we did a farm workshop, so helping farmers actually network and create spaces for those people to help each other and to learn from each other. And we have a Grow Dome project that is currently looking for a new home in somewhere in the Truckee area, where we bring some of our students, local students that don't really get an opportunity to see where their food comes from. So this is a real great opportunity. And again, creating spaces for people to gather. Speaking of which, community soup night's a great way to do it. And I've met several people in this room at our farm to table dinners that we're calling pitchfork to pan. And with that, I just wanted to leave a few minutes here for our chef to talk a little bit more about why this is one of our customers, and certainly one of our supporters as well. You got a mic? I think we need your mic.
Hi, how are you guys doing today? I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to kind of talk about the food that you guys were enjoying today, and kind of give a shout out to some of the farms that we sourced from. I know Jan here wanted to kind of connect some of the farms to the food, and so I'm going to take a minute here to do that. So just starting off with the first course we had today, the heirloom tomato soup. The tomatoes were sourced from Pill's Produce at Hillcrest. The roasted beet salad that you guys were enjoying, we obtained the beets from Son of Something Farm and Foothill Roots Farm. The shaved watermelon that was in the other salad, we sourced from Starbright Acres Family Farm. The caramelized onions and apples that were on the chicken today were from Lincoln Hills Farm and Super Tuber Farms. And then the pesto that was on the salmon was sourced from was created from kale, sourced from Falaki Farms. And so, we tried to use the food hub in a lot of different ways. If you came to visit Sierra Cafe as a guest, you would see Tahoe Food Hub farms featured throughout our menu. Even on our breakfast buffet in the morning, we utilize all kinds of stone fruits and hand fruits and different products that we source from the food hub. Just to give you a little bit of a background for me, I went to school in Missouri, and while there, I obtained my culinary education by working in restaurants. And working in those restaurants, I was exposed to the farm to fork movement. And so moving here to Tahoe and seeing that the Hyatt was using the Tahoe Food Hub and sourcing local food from farmers was like a really great thing for me, to come from working in small restaurants to, a much larger operation like this, and see that they were still trying to connect with the local community by sourcing local products. Here at the Hyatt, we have a saying, it's caring for people so that they can be their best. And utilizing the Tahoe Food Hub is a natural extension of that by supporting our communities, by reinvesting in them, by buying local produce. One of the ways that we also use that produce is we'll do a farmer's market here for our associates. And we sell the food at cost. We're not making any profit off of it, but we source it from the food hub, and then on Fridays we'll set up a small farmer's market in our downstairs employee area. And all of our employees get to come and they can purchase food at cost, that's locally produced. And so it goes from our associates to our guests in the way that we try and share this food with everybody. Thank you for your time.
Do we have time for questions, or are we?
Yeah,
okay.
So there's one mic over here. Damon, I can't seem to get that one to work, so I'm going to take this one and give it to Shay. But I want everybody to be able to ask questions first, but really serious. Wasn't that food amazing today? Thank you. And selfishly, I do want to see the Tahoe Food Hub expand to the South Shore of Lake Tahoe because, yeah, right? So let's get that going. Okay. So you guys ask questions here. I can't see with the lights in my eyes, but Chris has a microphone, so raise your hands if you've got questions for our chef or for Jan from the Tahoe Food Hub. Okay.
You mentioned that you just recently partnered with a healthcare system. I wondered which one that was and if you had any best practices for that, selfishly asking.
So we have been providing food for the Tahoe Forest Hospital in Truckee. And interestingly, if you ask people that live anywhere near or live or work anywhere near that hospital, one of the things you'll often hear is that, well, some of the best, most affordable food is at the hospital, right? And I think it's a great model because in some ways they, are creating at a scale that it makes it more affordable. And if you can provide for that hospital, it's a wonderful way to go. Basically, the hospital is sourcing from, typically would be sourcing from Cisco or U.S. Foods, a lot of these larger producers. And really it's about creating those relationships. And on some level, everyone needs to defend their budget. And the reality is that if you do source locally, you are in many ways, often need to convince somebody to pay a little bit more money for food that is of higher quality. And I think to be honest, I don't know the background of how they do it there, but I think it's a natural extension of community hospitals. Part of their mission is to create a healthier environment and a healthier place for their stakeholders. So I think it shouldn't be a hard sell, but it takes time.
Sorry, great question, Natasha. Okay, over here.
Yes, I'd like to piggyback on that. I'm on the board of directors at Tahoe Forest Hospital District. And our critical access hospital is required every few years to do a community health needs assessment. It wasn't mentioned, but one of the huge assets of this community is we're a healthy community. I mean, like 50% healthier than the average U.S. community. It stands to reason. People who live and work at Tahoe do so because they love to ski and bike and hike and all the outdoor things that we enjoy up here. But I would like to commend you for contributing to the continued health of our community through good food.
Thank you so much, and I would like to thank you for supporting the hospital and supporting us. Yeah.
Other good questions? Really? Oh, come on. Yes. Okay. Chris, will you give Wendy the mic?
I just wanted to ask about the Build-A-Box. Where are they delivering those? And are they like dropped on doorsteps, or how does it work?
So A lot of it depends on where you're located, and if you're in South Lake Tahoe, at this point, it's maybe a little bit more complicated discussion, but in the summertime, we deliver twice a week, and in the wintertime, we deliver once a week, with the exception of 3 weeks in November, which is why Susie's not here. And what we typically would do is put you on a delivery, on our delivery schedule. So you would end up, we might deliver here in Incline, we deliver to the Hyatt, and then, depending on where you were, we would just deliver, most likely to somebody's house. And, a lot of the things that we deliver, it depends on what you order, may not need to be refrigerated, so it could last several hours without being refrigerated. So, but yeah, we deliver specifically, mostly right now we're delivering to businesses, but we also have some community groups that have put things together. And last week I ordered several boxes of food, and I just picked it up from the food hub location. But there's a flexibility in that.
Thanks, Heidi. I'm curious how much business your business has possibly generated in terms of local interest in small farming, maybe on a little bit closer basis. I think you said 150 miles is generally your range, but I'm curious if you have noticed any increase in interest in small farming a little bit closer, like Carson Valley area.
Well, it's probably hard to separate our influence from the general movement of the general movement towards smaller farms, ecologically produced food, organic food, smaller farming. There is a resurgence of that. A lot of that's coming through with the millennials. The challenge, of course, is the affordability of that is challenging. But the asset, what it takes required to increase those assets. What we are seeing is those farmers that are just starting really having a leg up on their peers if they didn't have something like the Tahoe Food Hub, because they essentially have a market. And many of these farmers are starting out with they're not producing very much, and most distributors aren't even interested in talking to them. And if you set up your own CSA or you do your own marketing, I mean, we all know that's a business in itself, right? So this is a great opportunity where, for the most part, what happens is that these small producers say, I need to sell this produce or this product at this price in order for me to make ends meet. Can you sell it for me? And we mark it up really nominally, and then if it sells, it sells, and if it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. But what we see is that these small producers every week are selling most, if not all, of the products that they want to sell. So it's an amazing asset for them. I wish I had a farmer here to tell you directly, but that's what I see.
Hi. I heard you say you wanted to come into the South Lake Tahoe area more than you are right now. We'd love to have you. Wondering what that would look like to you and how we can support you.
Thank you for the question. I wish I had the names off the top of my head, because I've met a handful of the wonderful folks that are pushing that initiative along. I have a handful of Tahoe Food Hub cards on the back table near the dessert. So if you haven't had dessert yet, you can go and pick up dessert, and you can pick up one of my cards. And just email me, or you can certainly email Susie. But if you email me, then I can put it in context and put you in touch with those individuals. I think, it really takes a community to support a food hub. So really just the interest and, emailing us and saying, hey, we're in South Lake Tahoe, we want you to come here and we can help you support, and how can I help? Susie could probably answer that question better than I can.
Great. Other questions? I have one for Shay. So, Shay, have you found that the patrons that eat at the Sierra Cafe are eating more of the Tahoe Food Hub salad maybe than some of your other items? Or is there an interest in, and do folks ask you questions about it? And And how are your servers and others sort of telling people about this relationship and partnership that you have built?
Well, I would say that our featured Tahoe Food Hub salad, and we actually have Tahoe Food Hub in the name on the menu, is one of our more popular salads there. One of the ways that we promote the farms and some of the products we have a local artist who creates a chalkboard displays in our restaurants, in our buffet area, and it features some of the farms and some of the produce that we're sourcing from them. We do get guests that ask about it if they notice it. We have guests from all over, and people that are really into that, I think, are the ones who dig a little bit deeper into what we're serving, and they think it's great. I mean, they love that it's locally sourced. They're getting a fresher, more colorful, better product than something that you're going to source from U.S. foods. And so, I'd say that the Tahoe Food Hub salad that we have featured on our menu is one of our more popular ones, and it's probably the best tasting one I think we have on our menu.
Well, I've ordered it, and I know, where's Alicia? Okay, so Alicia over here, go ahead and stand up so that everybody can talk to you later if they want. So Alicia owns 50/50 Brewing and Drunken Monkey in Truckee, and they have the Tahoe Food Hub salad as well on their menu. So thank you for supporting the farmers. And it's your best-selling salad? Okay, awesome. So it's neat to see this collaboration with our local restaurants, obviously the farmers and our chefs. So thank you both for being here and sharing this story for our lunch. It's definitely the theme is community. We did plan that, if you didn't pick up on that yet, and sharing. So you guys have about a 15-minute break right now, so you can get those desserts, introduce yourself to the chef and Jan if you would like, and then go back into the sessions, the same rooms ideally that you were in this morning, because the afternoon session is building on the morning session. But you can switch if you really, really want to, but it will be a little harder. So thanks, everybody.